And like he said, it's a very long topic, but that's why I'm here. I'm going to talk you through it. It's also a long topic for other reasons, because I'm going to take you into some levels of complexity and how Frappe as a framework and ERPNext as one of the apps has helped us navigate through some really complex problems in the last 2 years, right? We've all been through, it's been a difficult 2 years for us as a community, as a race, as humanity. And I want to use today to kind of talk. Cool. So many of you are from India, but there are few that are from other countries as well. But can you raise your hand if this image is relevant to you? I mean, is something that you have seen, right? A lot of you might have seen this. It's just 2 years away, but some things are very difficult to forget. But just like these, the migrant workers who were going through the lockdown when COVID hit, right? Many of us here are also migrants. Can you raise your hand if you are also a migrant from a different city, working in a different city? Yeah, and imagine landing up in a new city without having the agency to navigate through those difficult choices, right? So our journey as T4G Labs, which is Tech for Good Labs, kind of started here, and this image is kind of the reason why we started. So when this happened, there were millions of migrant workers across India who were either stranded in cities or making the long walk back home, right? And they were in terrible distress. But the good thing that we saw, and that's probably also one of the reasons that unlike other species and races, humanity has survived even worse things than the coronavirus, right? And one of the reasons that has happened is because when something like this happens, we have this incredible ability to come together as a community, to help each other out. And that is one of the reasons that we survive. The thing that we were doing is we were helping a lot of these people who are making calls to NGOs and volunteers. Many of you would have been volunteer, giving food, helping with money, or helping people find empty beds in hospitals, etc. Right? So we were helping a bunch of 25 volunteers, and this is what happened. And one day there was some 1,200 important information about migrant laborers that was there, and somebody accidentally deleted it, right? And that is when T4G Labs, the concept kind of started for us, because we were sitting in Bangalore, the Silicon Valley of India, and it was surprising and sad for us that as a community we couldn't build something that could bring all these people together to solve for these problems, right? And one of the reasons, I'm sure all of you, I mean, across health, small businesses, there are so many complex problems I'm sure all of you work on. But when you think about vulnerable communities, in this case, let's say migrant workers, right? The problems that they face are very complex, right? So it's not just about livelihood, health, or inclusion, justice, housing, correct? They have a multiple level of problems that they face. For example, a migrant worker that is coming to Bombay will need to find a job. Sometimes they'll work and they'll not get the money. But at the same time, the mother who's a single mother, needs to leave the child somewhere so that she can go and work in the site, right? They'll need access to health, and they have no one to help them out with, apart from the community that they're a part of, right? So that is how the focus on the word complex, and this shows why we think all these people who you see on the other side, on the outside corner, we need to bring all of these people together to solve for the problem of that one person. It is not enough that only one, which is usually the thing, right? So that is how kind of the idea started for us. So what we do at T4G Labs is we co-create solutions, right? We co-create solutions that bring together a large number of people, different actors. We help them, we focus on the process and not the product, and one of the reasons we didn't have to focus on the product is a surprise. We'll get you there. And we take them through the process of solving for that problem. So we had a couple of our friends, philanthropies and nonprofits, the Azim Premji Foundation, Ajivika Bureau, our friends are here with us today, Akhilam as one of the actually partner vendors as well. We brought them together through the process through which we identified what the solution could be. And we did a lot of things, right? It is easy to say that we have to bring a large number of people together to solve a problem for a large number of people. It's easier said. Even building the technology might be very easy to do that. But there are core problems, right? You have to build trust. You have to get, why would one NGO want to work with another NGO, right? So why would one partner want to work with another partner? So there is something more to be done than the technology bit, right? Then we had to do things like human-centered design, or rather planet-centered design in that matter. It's like, how do you keep vulnerable communities at the center when you think about, let's say, an ERPNext installation? You would think about your users for sure, but do you also think about the patient? You might think about the doctor, but you also think about the patient, right? So we did a lot of work around that as well, building those collaborations. And the top one, no, fixing broken dialogues in the process, which is if you don't talk to each and every stakeholder, then what you end up developing is not going to be useful to anyone, right? So these were some of the ways that we do, and especially because we are in the non-profit sector. I don't want to call it the non-profit sector. It is basically a not-for-loss sector, right? So it's not like we don't earn money at all. We just try to make ourselves sustainable through fundings and sometimes through investments as well. So we also helped these organizations for whom we're building this solution to fundraise as well, right? So this is what we did. So for the migrant workers, together we came up with this idea, and that anyone who's in any migrant worker in distress should be able to call a telecounselor that will be located anywhere in India if they wanted to be. It's because that's the idea, getting a large number of people to help them, right? And there should be a unified CRM where everything can be documented, right? And then hopefully in the future it will also talk to external systems, maybe government services, etc., to help. But we wanted to focus on this bit, and that is where we started using ERPNext. And that was also one of the reasons we didn't have to think too much about doing the installations for it, right? So this whole process took us around 3 months, 3 to 3.5 months of conversations, workshop, talking, getting the use cases ready to arrive at this, right? Getting everyone to collaborate. It's easy to tell everyone that you have to do this, but getting all of them to agree that this is what we are going to do took a lot of time. And doing the installation itself only took us like you saw in this thing, previous sessions, right? With things like Frappe Cloud and with help from people like Vishal from FOSS United, Sameer from India Labor Line, and Akhilam from, Shivam and Raj from Akhilam, we were able to set up the whole thing using ERPNext in a couple of 3 days, right? Making sure that any call that comes gets easily logged using special doc types that were created. We could get field workers to get into looking up the case, and then immediately make a case file of it. It's called online dispute resolution, because one of the problems that Labor Line wanted to solve, we took up the livelihood bit, was when migrant workers come and work for many months, sometimes they don't get paid, right? So unlike people like us who have a HR team and a grievance cell, they don't have access or agency to do things like that, right? So that is where India Labor Line comes in, and they used it, the India Labor Line team, which was around 5 to 6 trade unions. They have their head office actually in Mumbai. The team is here. A couple of NGOs and funded by the Azim Premji Foundation. FOSS United also provided us with the initial funding that was required to get this going, right? So we did that. Sorry, yeah. But of course, we built the system, and then we had to get people to use it, right? So we say this a lot in our organization, which is just because Gmail is free and everybody has a Gmail account does not mean we'll all write amazing emails, right? So that's the next step. So ERPNext can be a great tool, is a great tool. Frappe can be a great tool, but just like Umair said, right? You need the school, you need the teaching part, you need the nurturing part, you need the co-creating part. And we spent a lot of time training, using, and while training frontline workers, it's a different language. You have to say, especially in Hindi, right? So you have to say things like, ye burger menu hai. So burger is the hamburger menu. So you have to say it's a burger menu, because hamburger they won't understand, right? And then you have the 3-dot menu. So in Hindi, we call it the bindu means dot. So we'll say 3 bindu menu mein aap click kijiye, right? So it was quite a fascinating journey for us. But having done all that, and training took a lot of time as well, this is where they were able to reach. So our partners, India Labor Line, this is actually a toll-free number. So if you, anywhere in India, if you have migrant workers or workers, domestic workers, who come to you and say things like, someone is not paying them, they haven't got their insurance, or they haven't got their labor card. This is a number to call. It's live. You can try it out right now. And the whole system runs on ERPNext. Today, this is actually of 25th, long time back. These are the actual numbers. So you can see that they've already helped recover around 1.1 crore INR in wages, right? So big thank you to the team at India Labour Line for being able to do that. And now the real numbers are around 2 crores. And right now they're operational in 5 cities, and they're going to expand to 18 cities, right? So it's going to be scaled up. They're raising the funds to do that, right? And as a funder, when a funder looks at products like this, they are also able to go and see the numbers. So it also builds transparency for the funder. So instead of everything being on paper, they are able to see, oh, this is an actual system, and we can see how this is working, right? But as we did this, what is the journey for T4G Labs, right? Labor line is one problem that we have solved for the migrant worker because it focuses on unpaid wages. But like I said, we want to solve for all these problems. We, in a way, think of this like a multi-speciality hospital, right? A person who is already in distress should not be allowed to go, okay, for your Aadhaar card, you have to go to this place, or they'll lose their daily wages. So how can we bring all of these different people who are already helping them together and get them to work? So that's where we are right now. We are trying to build that bit of it. And in this, we are focusing on 2 things, right? So regardless of who these other players are, ultimately the people that they work with, right, are actually the frontline workers, the ASHA worker, the garbage picking person, right, the Anganwadi workers, or in the NGO, the grassroots workers. So we are super focused on the frontline worker, whom we call the deskless worker, right? So we need to create to use Rushabh's word, because when I went to Rushabh with this problem, he used to say, Shemeer, only do this if you're building something truly world-class. So he made us think a little bit. We actually took a month to then go back and think that if we want to build something, 2 things we have to be very clear on. The first one is be very focused on the migrant worker or the vulnerable community, right? And be very focused on the frontline worker, because if you crack it for these 2, right, then the collaborations will work. Otherwise, it is not going to work. So we've started working on that. We are now in the very early stages. We are putting together, and one of the ways we wanted to do this is a very complicated structure, but that's how society is. No? It's very complex. It's not simple, but we wanted to simplify it. So the way we are approaching it as a technology is we did a prototype, and we did it by learning by doing. So right now there are around 12 concerned citizens, and you will see here that one of our major focus is on concerned citizens, right? Because if we don't get citizens to play a part in it, especially when we are all also migrants ourselves, we cannot solve problems at this scale. We are talking about 11 to 12 million migrant workers in that picture alone when that happened. We're talking about 4 million migrants who are, in 2020, 4 million migrants came to left their villages and homes and social society to come to cities. Do you know what the top reason was, according to government sources, for that kind of migration? Any guesses? We did a lot of aspirational migration, right? So we'll go to Dubai or we'll go to Delhi to find job. The major reason for migration is climate change. So people say, I came for a job, but when you talk to them, you ask them the first, second, and the third question. It is always that rains, barish nahi hua, which is rains haven't happened, or drought, right? Unseasonal rain, heavy rainfall. You must have seen the news everywhere. People, we live in climate change, right? So that's another reason why T4G Labs has taken migration as a very important focus. And though most of the services that we want to provide here are based on helping them once they reach here to help and support them through this large collaboration of people. But ultimately, we want to find out what is the source of migration and also try to not prevent migration. No one should prevent, because if it is aspirational, of course, they have every right to come to the city just like I did, right? But if they're being forced to migrate because of climate change, find out some more data around it, come up with solutions, right? So as we started doing this, we took a small number of migrants in Bangalore, and we realized that what we are actually building is something that can do interoperability. So most of the nonprofits, change makers, and even government agencies, the way they work is they're very good at what they do, right? So there could be an NGO that is providing help with Aadhaar card ke liye. Could be another NGO providing food, right? And they are very good at what they do. But the way they work right now is they work like messaging apps, right? So like WhatsApp. So they're very good at communicating within themselves, but one is like a WhatsApp, the other one is Telegram, and the third one is Signal, right? So they cannot, they're very difficult for them to interoperate. Right? So we want to solve for that interoperability, and the way we want to solve for that interoperability is we create a migrant citizen registry. It was just, the simplification of it is, ultimately there are just 4 registries, and Frappe, the framework helps us to think of it like that. The user registry, which is where the concerned staff, NGO staff, etc. are there. And then you have the issues and needs. I mean, what are their needs? Because if you can't solve for their issues, what are we solving for, right? And then the service provider registry. Who are these different NGOs so that we can easily look up and build, right? So that is where we are. But as we went through this, we came to realize that, people were saying, build us a website. We were building up websites with ERP. We realized that ERPNext could help NGOs with a lot of their needs. Simple things like discoverability. Do you know that 97% of NGOs in India do not have a website? Right? And the moment Facebook says start a website, it's over for them. So we started helping out and experimenting and building small websites. This took us 4 hours. This is called the We Live Foundation. And as we talked more, sorry, it's not very clear, but the idea is whatever a small business needs, right? The same thing a nonprofit also needs. They also need to get more efficient. They also need to get more effortless and confident in the way they use their systems, in collaborating internally, right? But there is a challenge. And the challenge or myths are, NGOs don't have funding. They don't have money, correct? Or they have, the other challenge is that technology vendors, people like us who are all here, also don't understand the NGO language or the change-making language. Or what do you mean vulnerable community, right? I took a lot of time. It took me 17 years to understand the language. And I know that it is a fact, and many of you here might also relate to it. Just like they don't understand tech, we also don't understand social impact. Most of the solutions, like I said, are not built with vulnerable communities. And WhatsApp was not built for the migrant worker. They are now forced to use it, but it was not, WhatsApp was not the migrant worker's biggest problem, right? So you don't have, solutions are not built with vulnerable communities in mind. Long-term hand-holding support, et cetera, was also a challenge, right? So there are these are some of the key challenges that we were looking at. So where can we help? So T4G Labs, our reason has been, as we do this migration and migrant line as sort of a hospital where we actually do the problem, because without doing the problem, you can't build something, right? What we want to do is, whatever we are learning from there, we want to share with all of you. How to do all those honeycomb things that I was talking about, how to do co-creation, what is this dialogue, how to do fundraising, how do I find money, how do I do this, right? So these are some of the ways in which we can help you. Sorry, I'm a little out of time. So we'll help you with fellowships. There are some mentoring opportunities as well that will be available. The site is going to be open soon. You can go to, www.t4gacademy.org and sign up for your inputs, etc. Yeah. Sorry, I took more time. So people can give inputs directly on the site. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.